We welcome you to hour number 2, bright and early on this Monday morning to start off a new week, live right here on the early line. He is Donnie Rightside. I am Ben Stevens. We thank you for joining us on this Monday morning all across the SportsGrid network. In this second hour, some NFL headlines. It is Combine Week in Indianapolis. The workouts start later this week. The interviews and the press conferences and the measurements, that starts bright and early in Indianapolis. Plenty to discuss in terms of the future of the National Football League. Who will be there? Who will be participating? Who will be working out? And maybe who won't be as well, and what the odds say as we enter the scouting combine in Indy. Some other big NFL headlines as well. And then later on in this second hour, our coach, James Young, JY, joins us here to break down everything around the NBA and college hoops as well. A lot in store in this second hour.
Yes, and a lot in store in Indianapolis. Well, not really. I call it the biggest waste of time in professional sports because it comes down to where you have a general manager that is actually going to go here and be like, you know what? I have thousands of plays and hours of tape on this player. Like, didn't like how I ran that 40 there down there. Don't know if I can draft him here. Or a quarterback who says, you know what? I'm going to throw the football and go, man, this guy was horrendous at throwing the football, throwing all his game tape. Boy, he's throwing to guys on air with nobody covering him. Boy, he looks good. Let me move him up my draft board. The biggest waste of time in sports this week, and we'll watch it, and we'll cover it, and we'll still have some fun with it.
But we like it, and it is a ton of fun in my estimation. It is a chance and an opportunity, DRS, during Combine Week to put together the measurables and the workouts to match that up with the tape to start that true draft evaluation process around the NFL. If you strictly use the Combine, of course, you are doing a bad job. But can it be a part of the conversation? Certainly so. But always trust what your eyes see on tape. Some big news, though, DRS, over the weekend in terms of Matthew Stafford in Los Angeles. You and I were discussing this late last week. The idea, would Matthew Stafford play somewhere else in 2025? Would he actually not return to the Rams? Because outside of his wife on her podcast and some small speculation from Adam Schefter due to his brother-in-law, Chad Hall, signing as the assistant quarterbacks coach in New York with the Giants, there wasn't actually any reporting that Matthew Stafford was unhappy with the Rams, that he was looking to part ways, anything of the sort. Well, we got this report over the weekend. The Rams have given permission for Matthew Stafford's agent to speak with other teams about his value. This is not a trade request. Instead, the Rams and Stafford can gain a better understanding of his value outside the team, potentially making it easier to get a contract done. That remains the hope, that outside help can assist engaging the market in seeing his value, and that this results in his return to LA. It's a weirdly phrased tweet if the idea is just returning to Los Angeles. But Donnie, it turns out that maybe, hand up, I was a little bit short-sighted, that maybe there is actually something brewing here in LA that would have Matthew somewhere else in 2025.
Yeah, we got a lot of liars out here is what we're seeing right now because these are contradicting reports here. What NFL franchise goes, go out, shop around, ask, look, we're not trading you. We just want to find your value. So another general manager, assistant general manager, a capologist, let's just say from the Washington Commanders, is going to spend 3 days figuring out the market analysis for the Rams when they should be doing that themselves here. That doesn't make any sense. You don't let your franchise quarterback talk to other teams without actually having interest, where if they find out there is a team, like let's just, it's not the Miami Dolphins. I'm just using that as a team here. The Miami Dolphins want to trade for Matthew Stafford and go, oh, you know what? That's actually a little bit too much money for us, and you do give us a first-round pick, okay, you're getting traded here. That all lines up. So I do think they need to build a market for Matthew Stafford, and if they're blown away, they will trade him. But I don't buy this secondary report that goes, hey, Matt, go talk to every team. Bring back your best offers, and we'll sign you. No, that's what a general manager is supposed to do by feeling out the market to see what the actual market analysis is from his side of the table. And also get this. It never made any sense for Matthew Stafford to leave Los Angeles, particularly when we're talking about the Giants. But having said that, like Adam Schefter is not just going to include that little blurb in that original tweet without finding a basis for why that should actually be in there. So if it is the Giants, and we'll get to that in just a little bit, but for that initial tweet here, it doesn't make any sense. And as I said, a lot of people are lying out here on this Matthew Stafford non-trade /trade/ how much am I worth?
That phrasing also by Ian Rappaport insiders have sources. They can be in a variety of spots. It could be an agent. It could be a front office exec. Heck, it could be the player itself. But, Donnie, the way that was phrased, that all this is happening because it's all good, man. Don't worry. They're getting back in L.A. The Rams just want to hear, hey, if we can get a third-round pick for Stafford, is it worth giving him a contract bonus? None of that makes sense. That's bad business. Unless the Rams are convinced that Matthew Stafford is going to hear, brother, we're not trading more than a sixth-round pick for you, and we're not giving you a new contract when you get here. So come back to Papa, because here is your contract. Take it or leave it. I don't think that is the relationship, though, in Los Angeles. For a guy that won a Super Bowl in his first year in L.A., seems to have a great rapport with Sean McVay, maybe a little bit spurned that the Rams are looking to trade Cooper Kupp, but Matthew Stafford, who has been in the NFL now for 16 seasons, is probably understanding that things are a business. All of this seems weird. And then for his personal desire to go to New York, for what? To work alongside your brother-in-law, who you haven't worked with despite the guy being an assistant in the NFL for nearly a decade? To be with a floundering Giants franchise, to lead them to, at best, 7 wins? To have head coach GM and your brother-in-law probably fired for a new regime to come in with an early draft pick? For the Giants' perspective, to trade away this chance of a future for a Matthew Stafford who is still performing very well at the end of 16 seasons, but is currently 37 years old? None of it makes sense, except for Matthew Stafford to return to Los Angeles, to be a part of a promising franchise that has seen great success together, that has a young and improving defense with one of the best young wide receivers in the game in Puka Nacua. The only thing that makes sense from everybody involved is for Matthew Stafford to be back in L.A., even if that costs the Rams a little bit more. It is all nonsensical in my estimation.
It is. And also for a guy that's been a career dome quarterback, Detroit and LA, he's going to want to go play in the Meadowlands behind a trash offensive line. And also, if you're the Giants, hey, maybe the fans, because they've been beaten down enough, like, man, it's going to be nice that we actually get a true quarterback in here. And then you say, well, hold on, we have a high draft pick. We can get a young quarterback, but we're going to trade away, let's just say the number 3, top 5, let's just say a top 5 draft pick here, and then pay a quarterback $50 million a year with this junk foundation that we have currently right here. It doesn't make any sense. There are some landing spots that make sense for Matthew Stafford. Like the least landing spot that makes the least amount of sense to me is the Giants. That makes absolutely no sense whatsoever to go to the Giants. And again, as an Eagle fan, if you're an NFC East fan, you should be screaming like, please make this trade happen, because you know what it means? That means Joe Shane's going to probably save his job for another year, which hurts the football team. And also, you're never going to find your future quarterback. And by the time, if you do rebuild that roster, Matthew Stafford's 40, aging, and already out of the NFL. What did you do with your time here, Giants? And a horrible decision it would be to make the move for Matthew Stafford.
For the G-men to part ways with draft capital for Matthew Stafford would be so dumb that Joe Shane should be fired on the spot if that happens. And it's not just Matthew Stafford seeing his trade value other areas in the NFL. It might not just be New York. There are many teams, as we have discussed, that need to answer a quarterback question this offseason. The Pittsburgh Steelers, could that be a potential? We're not entirely sure. Why the Rams would do this with a roster that clearly is in win-now mode and only improving year over year with a young core makes zero sense. Unless Stafford is just so pissed about Cooper Kupp being dealt that he wants to be traded. I don't consider Matthew Stafford that nearsighted in how he does his NFL career. 16 seasons in the National Football League, 12 in Detroit, 4 in LA, that have featured 3 playoff bursts when he has been fully healthy, and a Lombardi trophy. All of it is still very strange. It is Combine Week in Indy. We break it down now. It is Combine Week in Indianapolis, officially starting today. There will be some interviews and some measurements taken and some press conferences all around Indy. It's not just about working out how fast you run the 40, how high your vertical is, or those specific positional workout groups. It is also about meeting with NFL organizations. It is one place for everybody to meet with basically every top draft prospect that makes their way to Indianapolis, as Donnie has alluded to. If there is an NFL GM, a draft evaluator or scout, or anybody in the media that solely focuses on Combine Week as the true picture of a prospect, they are leading you astray and they are doing a bad job. It is some of the intangibles that come with the athletic displays we will see at the combine, but mainly matched up with the tape of what we have seen throughout the collegiate careers of these prospects. Always know that. But with that being said, DRS, a lot will move this week in the odds market and our perception of these prospects, because despite always trying to give the caveat of take what you see at the draft combine with a grain of salt, it always is focused on rather specifically. So we'll see a lot of movement during this combine week.
Oh, we absolutely will. And that's where the smoke screens, again, begin to intensify of teams that are saying, you know what, we really want to draft this player, but we're not going to have a meeting with them, because if we have a meeting with them, people will think that they're on our draft radar. So I like the week for that. But just per se from the workout perspective, it doesn't make all that much sense anymore. The pro days are a little bit bigger deal because you get that sort of one-on-one time. You get close to the player. You can watch him do a full 30-minute workout. He's got wide receivers, running backs behind him here that he's used to throwing with. So you get a little bit more of a feel. But I've always said this. Like combine week to me, and again, if I was the owner of the Philadelphia Eagles, we wouldn't send anybody. We'd send not a single person, talent scout to the actual combine, because I'd say you have thousands of reps on tape and you probably made hundreds of phone calls to the family, to the individual, to the coaching staff, to friends of the coaching staff, to try to do your due diligence on said player at this point. I just think it's one of those big meetups that you have. You can use the company credit card and get some nice spicy shrimp cocktail, and you go back home. But nobody should be changing any draft boards based on what they see at the combine. Absolutely nobody.
I would agree, DRS. I don't think you need to change your draft board. I think it will influence your draft board and the decision, as will those in-person interviews, meeting with a lot of these college kids who you haven't spoken to face-to-face probably ever or very, very frequently. Colorado quarterback and potential top pick Shedeur Sanders plans to focus on his interviews with teams at the NFL Scouting Combine, helping them continue to learn him as a person. He'll allow his 4 years of film to speak loudly, then throw at his pro day in Boulder with 4 draftable CU wide receivers. Did Deion Sanders type that tweet for Ian Rappaport? Regardless, Shedeur Sanders is planning on not working out at the NFL Combine, not throwing at the NFL Combine, just doing interviews with teams to let them learn about the prospect and player in person that Shedeur Sanders is.
Yeah, it is important that you do get in front of teams and you're able to speak on certain topics, or they send you up to the chalkboard and they just want to see how well versed you are at breaking down defenses. That does make a little bit of sense here, because you just want to build that form. Like, hey, you know what? This guy can fit into my city. Looks like a great fit for my team at this point. Or maybe we don't like the way he operates in the pocket, so we want to talk to him about why he did certain things. I understand that. But from my reasoning, if you are, let's just say, Cam Ward / Shedeur Sanders, Travis Hunter, Abdul Carter, you know you're going probably in the first half of the first round. And if I was an agent, I'm not letting you work out at all at this point, because the only damage you could do, like Cam Ward's a minus 140 price now to be the number 1 overall draft pick in the NFL. Like, what can he do for stock to hurt it? I don't know. Go out at pro day, tear a hamstring, look like he's disinterested here. Like, if he doesn't even appear until the draft, he's probably going to be the number 1 overall pick. So unless you're an agent, because, hey, man, my guy's a 4th round that nobody's looking at, I need to have him run the circuit, run as many sprints as possible, get in front of many teams here so he can move from a 4th round draft pick to a 2nd round draft pick. There is something to be said. But when you're already at the top of the heap, you can actually only go lower here. So when I hear people say, like, oh, man, he's not competitive, doesn't want to work out, like, no. What agent would give you that advice? Yeah. It's like if you have $1 million paycheck coming Friday, it's like the only thing you have to do is stay in your house and not get into an auto wreck. Hey, man, let me take the Lambo out for a couple spins on Tuesday. No, you're not going to do that. Just be smart here. Sit it out. You already put all that hard work in, and watch it come to fruition when you get drafted high end here.
DRS, I think maybe a couple of years ago there was a thought about that competitive mentality. Now, this is pretty boilerplate. This is pretty standard, of course, especially at the quarterback position. You want to see what real football looks like, not a guy throwing to wide receivers in shorts against no defense, against air. Yeah. You would think that if you're the number 1 overall pick, or in consideration for being a top 5 selection, a 1st round pick, heck, an NFL draft pick at all, you would be able to complete those passes with pretty comfortable ease in doing so. just because you are throwing on air. Now, we will see Shedeur Sanders throw. We'll probably see Cam Ward throw, both at their pro day when you can script everything exactly as you would like it. It is a glorified job interview. Of course, we read into it. But NFL guys want to see how that ball gets off your hand, what exactly that arm strength is like. Do you have the touch and the ease as you do throwing a rocket liner? We'll see, right? That stuff doesn't really move anything whatsoever. Again, it's a time for Shedeur Sanders to speak about his process, how he evaluates film, how he gets ready for games. And he'll have those times with head coaches to look at the whiteboard and say, draw this up, do this. What are you reading? What are you seeing? All that good stuff that comes with the combine as well. To Donnie's point, Cam Ward is still the odds-on favorite to go first overall at minus 140. Then Abdul Carter, the outstanding linebacker, edge rusher combo out of Penn State, the reigning Heisman winner in Travis Hunter, who will be at the combine listed as a defensive back, it should be noted, and Shedeur Sanders, fourth best price to go first overall at plus 750. Frankly, if I'm the Titans or the Browns, and I am considering a quarterback pick, Ward or Sanders, I want to hear from Shedeur, not his management, not his father. I want to hear from Shedeur. If we draft you, are you coming? Because of some of the reports that have been out there about the Sanders family trying to cherry pick, if you will, his NFL destination.
Yes, exactly. And you get them in a room here, and I'm sure they're all schooled very well from their PR teams, including their father, like Shedeur Sanders. But at the same time, you just want to hear it in their own words at that point. By the way, some people might be looking at the top of that landscape like Abdul Carter, plus 175 over Travis Hunter. Have you seen the man wreck absolute game plans here from a defensive end, a la Micah Parsons heading into the NFL? I love Abdul Carter, man. Whoever gets him, watch out.
We hope during Combine Week a couple more markets become available. We'll talk more draft next. It is Combine Week in the National Football League, the very early beginning of the draft process in the NFL. Here is the top 10 of the draft order as we enter Combine Week. Is this going to change? I think there will be some movement, DRS, in the pick order in this draft process. There it is on your screen. No need for me to break it down for you. The Titans, first overall. The Browns, second overall. The Giants, third overall. The Patriots, number 4. The Jags at number 5. Then the Raiders, Jets, Panthers, Saints, and the Bears round out the top 10. We have already heard from new GM in Tennessee, Mike Borgonzi. That's the Titans' new general manager. That they would be interested in hearing from teams if they wanted that number 1 overall pick. Is it smoke? Is it a lie? Is Tennessee set on either Cam Ward or Shedeur Sanders at the top? All of that will be discussed, DRS, in the next few weeks and months until late April in the NFL draft.
Absolutely, and that's the way it's supposed to be. But also understand this. There were a couple teams there in that top 5 that did themselves no favors over the final couple weeks of the season by winning meaningless football games, because that's about character and that's what you got to do. You take a look at the Patriots here. It's a shame because the Patriots had lost out like they were supposed to, had their quarterback, and then had, let's just say, the number 1 overall pick and could trade back 1 or 2 spots and grab a guy like Abdul Carter, but pick up an additional first-round draft pick on top of that. Sure. Yeah, they messed up. But they already have their quarterback what they think, so 4th isn't too bad. The team that you look at, too, is the Giants at 3-14. The Giants are in desperate need of a future franchise quarterback. And we're projecting, Ben, there's 2 quarterbacks in this draft. So if you are in the 3rd spot, you can get one of them if you trade up and give up draft capital, but they didn't do themselves any favor. The question is going to be here for the Titans. The reason why you stink and you're this high in the draft 9 times out of 10 is you have a quarterback that stinks and you need one for the future. So for the Titans, to me, I don't think you can actually enter and be like, hey, you know what? We like Cam Ward, but he's not the greatest quarterback. Let's trade back. Because what are you actually doing with your franchise? You're going to go out and get Sam Darnold and try to rebuild that way? Like, no. Like, I think Cam Ward is going to be a good NFL quarterback. And it's up to you with an offensive coach as your head coach to hone those skills. Because you're nothing without a future franchise quarterback. And we play it out so many times in our mind. Like, it's, hey, you can get Matthew Stafford. Sure, he's going to be 37 years old and cost you $50 million a year. Or you can draft Cam Ward. He's at the top of the heap, and he counts like $5 million against your salary capital in the next 3 to 4 years. You build around him, and if he's the quarterback you think he could be, you can hit a home run and win a Super Bowl or make deep playoff runs on that low rookie schedule. So for me, I look at the Titans and the Browns and go, I don't know how you can trade out when you need a quarterback of the future. You got to take him at that point, which then the Giants, the Patriots, the Jaguars, the Raiders, the Jets, if they're trying to move up, it's going to get expensive.
It's all part of that conversation, DRS. Are the Titans and the Browns sold on either of these two top quarterback prospects? Miami's Cam Ward, Colorado's Shedeur Sanders. There will be others in consideration for an early round draft pick, whether that's a first round pick, a top 15 pick, a top 10 pick, or maybe even day number 2. We know there will be a quarterback throughout this process that is highlighted and looked at rather fondly. Could it be Ole Miss's Jackson Dart, Syracuse's Kyle McCord, Alabama's Jalen Milroe, so on and so forth? But it really does seem to be a 2-quarterback class, at least, I would say bare minimum, in the top 10. Maybe a third quarterback somewhere in the first round. And you would think then that is tailor-made for 2 franchises that are in desperate need of a quarterback. Tennessee and Cleveland. Yeah, the Browns still have to pay Deshaun Watson. He's not the answer, might not even play in 2025. Tennessee has no answer right now on the roster at the quarterback position, especially with Brian Callahan entering his second year as the head coach. He's an offensive mind. Do you want to give him the tools even to maybe present himself as an NFL head coach? Is Mike Borgonzi like, listen, guy, I would have never hired you if I was the GM. So we're moving back. We're getting Abdul Carter, and we're going to go 2-15 and fire you at the end of this year. I love the idea, Donnie, that I've heard from some Giants fans. Really shouldn't have beaten the Colts, but we did. So we'll just pass the buck down the road, and we'll tank for Arch Manning. Like it's a guarantee that the Giants end up with the number 1 overall pick if they stink this season. They stunk this past year, and they're drafting 3rd overall. I am of belief, if you need a quarterback, go and get that quarterback. Because if you swing and miss, hey, at least you took the opportunity. But you better be able to evaluate. And right now, it would seem to me the Titans and the Browns should go quarterback and quarterback 1-2.
Yes, and if you do swing and miss on your quarterback, what's that mean? You stink again that season, and you can make a decision. Don't you remember the Arizona Cardinals? Hey, man, Rosen looks like our future. Now we think he stinks. Oh, look at this. We're going to draft another quarterback in Kyler Murray who would be better. That's how it's done here. Until you have a quarterback, you don't have a football team. It's simple.
Sam Darnold, huge swing and miss in New York. Might be back with the Jets this offseason. NBA talk next.